Fire prevention is the best way to fight a fire. Therefore, it's important to know what may cause a fire and where it could start. The most common areas where fires originate are the galley, the electrical panels, and the engine room. Possible causes are electrical faults, cabin heaters, electric motors, or an explosion in the gas or fuel supply. Good housekeeping is necessary in order to prevent a fire. Here are some vital tips. 1. Maintain a stringent non-smoking policy. 2. Keep flammables such as clothing and paper away from radiators. 3. Be sure small appliances are unplugged when not in use. 4. Do not overload outlets with too many outlet adapters and/or extension cords. 5. Never run cords under rugs. 6. Be sure nothing is in contact with a light bulb. 7. Keep the engine room clean. 8. Check for fuel and oil leaks. Here are more vital tips for fire prevention. 1. Store dirty rags with oil or paint in closed metal containers until you dispose of them. 2. Check that wiring is properly secured and protected from chafing. 3. Keep flammable liquids in their original containers and store them away in properly ventilated, secured areas. 4. No open flames near gas appliances. 5. When refueling, shut down the engine and all other machinery. 6. Install a gas detector with a warning bell. 7. Install smoke detectors in each compartment. In order to understand how to extinguish a fire, you should first of all know something about the causes. For a fire to burn, 3 elements must be present at the same time. These 3 elements are fuel, heat, and oxygen. Let's have a closer look at these elements. Fuel is something that will burn, such as paper, wood, plastic, or cloth. Heat, for example, from open flames, sparks, or hot surfaces, is needed to raise the fuel to its ignition temperature, and oxygen is necessary to sustain combustion. Usually these 3 elements are expressed symbolically as a triangle, called the fire triangle. By removing any of these elements, that is, the fuel, the heat, or the oxygen element, the fire will be extinguished. In order to extinguish a fire properly, you have to understand the materials that are burning. A fire involving wood must be handled differently than a fire involving petrol. Therefore, fire is divided into 6 classes. Class A, fires involving ordinary combustible materials such as wood, cloth, plastic, and paper. Class B, fires involving flammable liquids or flammable solids such as grease, paint, oil, petrol, varnish, and fat. Class C, fires involving gases such as butane, propane, acetylene. Class D, fires involving burning metals such as magnesium, titanium, potassium. Class E, fires involving electrical hazards. Class F, fires involving flammable liquids such as deep fat fryers. A Class D fire should only be tackled by qualified personnel trained in the handling of this class of fire. Fire extinguishers are categorized by the class of fire that they'll extinguish and by the substances they contain. They're labelled with capital letters according to the class of fire. Extinguishers may be rated for only one class or for multiple classes. Let's have a closer look at the various extinguishers. Water extinguisher. A water extinguisher cools and dampens the fire. Water removes the heat element from the fire triangle. Use the water extinguisher when you have a Class A fire. Never use water on a Class B, C, D, F or E fire. Dry powder extinguisher. A dry powder extinguisher puts the fire out by separating the burning substance from the oxygen and also interrupts the fire's chemical reaction. Use this extinguisher for Class A, B, C and E fires. Check the labelling on dry powder extinguishers. Some may only be good for Classes B and C. CO2 extinguisher. A carbon dioxide CO2 extinguisher causes the fire to suffocate. CO2 removes the oxygen element from the fire triangle. Use this fire extinguisher for Class B and E fires. Never use a CO2 extinguisher for Class C and D fires. Foam extinguisher. A foam extinguisher cools the fire, thus removing the heat element from the fire triangle. Foam also prevents reignition by smothering the fire. Use this fire extinguisher for Class A and B fires. It's of the utmost importance that you use an extinguisher only for the class of fire it's approved for. Using the wrong fire extinguisher could cause a greater problem, such as spreading the fire further afield. Or using the wrong type of extinguisher may cause harm to the firefighter. Portable fire extinguishers are not designed to fight large or spreading fires. But they can be useful when the following conditions are met. 1. The operator must know how to use the extinguisher. 2. The extinguisher must be classified for the fire the operator wants to fight. 3. The extinguisher should be within easy reach. 4. The extinguisher should be fully charged. 5. The extinguisher should be working properly. 6. The extinguisher should be large enough to extinguish the fire. 7. The operator must have a clear escape route before he starts tackling the fire. When all conditions are met for using a fire extinguisher, remember the acronym PASS. PASS stands for pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. Pull. First pull the pin so that the operating lever can be unlocked. Aim. Aim with the discharging nozzle at the base of the fire. Squeeze. Squeeze the discharging lever. Sweep. Sweep from side to side and always aim at the base of the fire. Move carefully towards the fire until it's extinguished. Closely monitor the fire area for any reignition. Fire blankets are made of fire-resistant materials. They're especially useful for putting out galley pan fires or for wrapping a person whose clothing is on fire. A fire blanket should be mounted close to the galley, but not in the galley, so it can still be reached during a galley fire. How to use a fire blanket. In case of a galley pan fire, hold the blanket in front of you and slowly approach the source of fire. Cover the burning material completely with the blanket. Then switch off the source of heat. Keep the fire covered until the oil or fat is cool. The blanket can be removed after it cools down. Do not remove the blanket when the oil is still hot, since reignition can occur. If your clothing is on fire, use the stop, drop, and roll technique. That means stop immediately, drop on the floor, and then roll on the floor to smother the flames. If another person is on fire, force him to the ground and try to roll him to smother the fire. A fire blanket can be used if it's handy. Put the blanket over the head and proceed slowly towards the feet. Do not simply drape the blanket over the victim, since this may trap heat from the smouldering clothing. Remove the blanket once the fire is extinguished. Fire blankets can also be used to provide fire protection when it becomes necessary to escape from a fire area. If possible, soak the blanket in water before you start your escape. Soaking the blanket provides added protection against the fire. Each crew member of a boat needs some form of personal buoyancy. Therefore, your boat must carry approved life jackets or buoyancy aids. Life jackets are designed to keep an unconscious person on his back in the water so that mouth and nose are clear of the water. Personal flotation devices are designed to keep the wearer afloat. How do you select the right flotation device? Life jackets and buoyancy aids should always be approved according to the European standards BSEN. An international standard has not yet been implemented. How do you choose the correct buoyancy device for you and your crew? First, consider your cruising area. When you're cruising offshore, such as in open waters where rescue may be delayed, you should have 275 Newton BSEN 399 life jackets on board. For inland waters where quick rescue is available, a 150 Newton BSEN 396 life jacket is sufficient. For calm inland waters, fair weather and daylight where quick rescue is available, you can select a 100 Newton BSEN 395 life jacket. Buoyancy aids and life jackets can either be equipped with inherent foam buoyancy, inflatable buoyancy, or a combination of both. A jacket with inflatable buoyancy can be filled by mouth or with gas bottles. The gas bottles can be activated automatically on entering the water or manually when required. When you've selected your flotation aid, try it on and make sure it has a comfortable but snug fit. The label provided on the jacket gives information about recommended size and weight of the wearer. Never select a jacket which is too big, and do not provide a child with an adult jacket due to the danger of the child slipping through it when in the water. Choose a bright color like orange and a jacket with retroreflective tape on it, so rescuers can more easily spot you in dark water. A whistle and a water-activated light should also be attached. These are helpful items in the dark or in restricted visibility. To test and become accustomed to your life jacket or buoyancy aid, you should wear it in shallow and calm water or in a pool where your feet can still reach the bottom. The flotation device should be properly fastened and loose ends must be tucked away. It should stay in place and not slip over your chin. After fastening, lift your feet from the bottom and check the buoyancy of your jacket. Your chin should be well above the waterline. If this is not the case, a jacket with more buoyancy must be selected. Here are a few vital tips on how to maintain and store your life jacket and floating device. Don't put any heavy objects on your jacket, since it may become compressed and lose buoyancy. Rinse your jacket with fresh water when it's been in contact with salt water, and let it drip completely dry. Don't dry your device using a high heat source like direct sun or a radiator, since heat can damage the buoyancy material. Store your jacket in a well-ventilated location. Here are some important checks that will help to keep your jacket in good working order. Check your jacket visually for any tears, rips or holes. Check your streams and straps. Check your retroreflective tape, whistle and light. Check your buoyant material for signs of shrinkage. Check for any mildew odor. No water should have entered your jacket. The above checks and a buoyancy check for non-inflatable jackets should be done at least twice a year. Inflatable jackets should be inflated once a year. Ensure that the pressure is maintained for at least 1 hour. Check and replace old cartridges. Replace used cartridges immediately. Each crew member should have his own safety harness on board. A safety harness is a device that prevents falling overboard. You can purchase them singly or in combination with a life jacket. Some oilskins are nowadays equipped with a safety harness. The crew member should know how to adjust the harness correctly and where to attach it to the boat. It's of utmost importance that only strong points are used. There are no special rules given as to when to wear a harness, but in the following situations a safety harness should be mandatory. In rough weather, at night, in restricted visibility, when a crew member is working aloft, over the side, and when alone on deck. Vessels cruising in areas with a water temperature of less than 10 degrees Celsius should carry immersion suits on board. Immersion suits are made of neoprene and can significantly increase survival time in cold water. They should be equipped with the following items: retroreflective tape, a face shield, a zipper toggle, a waterproof zipper, an air bladder with the appropriate air hose, a personal light, a whistle, and water-air escape valves. To become familiar with your immersion suit, you should wear it in water where your feet can still reach the bottom. The easiest way to don an immersion suit is as follows. Take the suit out of the storage bag, roll it out and sit on it, remove your shoes, insert your legs first, if necessary use plastic bags on your feet to make donning easier, leave clothing on for more insulation in the water, place the non-dominant arm into the suit first and pull the hood over with the free hand. Then place your other arm into the suit. Pull the zipper up and close the flap over your face. Lower yourself slowly into the water. Now you can inflate your air bladder. The same donning procedure can be exercised in the water. To keep your immersion suit in good working condition, you should perform a routine inspection every 6 months. This inspection should include the following. Take the suit out of the storage bag, unroll it and ventilate it for 24 hours. Check the inflation hose and inflate the air bladder. Check if the air bladder remains fully inflated for 24 hours. Inspect the suit for holes, tears and signs of wear. Make sure the retroreflective tape is still in place and not worn out. The zipper should operate smoothly and be lubricated with a non-petroleum-based product such as beeswax or a substance recommended by the manufacturer. Check your whistle and your personal light. If you have a battery-operated light, test it by simply switching it on. Also check the battery's expiration date. If you have a water-operated light, test it in water to make sure it operates. After the inspection, store the suit in its own bag. The easiest way to do this is as follows. Lay your suit flat on the floor with the zipper open. Then roll the suit up from bottom to top. Fold over the arms and the suit can be inserted in the storage bag. Store the immersion suit in a dry and well-ventilated place. It's important that the storage place is easily accessible. After you've used the suit in the water, rinse it thoroughly inside and out. Remove any grease or oil with mild soap and let it dry completely. Don't dry your suit in direct sunlight or near a radiator because the neoprene material becomes brittle. When completely dry, store the suit again in the storage bag and keep it in a dry, well-ventilated place. Here are the actions to be taken immediately when a person falls overboard. 1. Shout, "Man overboard," to inform the rest of the crew members. Say whether the person fell overboard on the starboard side or on the port side. 2. Throw a lifebuoy. This provides a floating aid for the person overboard and marks his position. 3. Additionally, in rough weather, throw a danbuoy. 4. If needed to better mark the victim's position, throw a die marker. 5. The skipper should keep the victim in sight or order another crew member to do so. 6. Push the Man Overboard button on your GPS. The GPS stores the overboard position in latitude and longitude and provides bearing and course to the person in the water. 7. Note the time, position, wind speed and direction, and current speed and direction at the time and place the person fell overboard. This latter action is important for 2 reasons. It provides official documentation to the authorities, and if the person is lost from sight, it provides vital information to the SARS units. In a man overboard situation, the skipper is responsible for taking immediate action to safely recover the person from the water. As regards any kind of emergency, preventing accidents should be the ultimate goal of the entire crew. As the old saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Schedule man overboard drills on a regular basis. Here are some vital tips. 1. Guardrails should be continuously fitted around the deck. The ends should be secured with lashings or quick release slips, so recovering a person overboard is quicker and easier. 2. Paint the boat deck with non-skid paint or apply anti-slip strips. 3. Wear a life jacket with retroreflective tape and a whistle. 4. Wear suitable protective clothing. 5. In the following situations, crew members on deck should wear safety harnesses. When sailing in rough weather, when sailing at night, when sailing in restricted visibility, when working alone on deck. The following safety equipment should be ready for immediate use. 1. A lifebuoy fitted with an automatic light and retroreflective tape. 2. A buoyant heaving line. 3. A danbuoy. 4. A die marker. To recover the person in the water under power, turn the boat towards him to avoid catching him in the propeller. Then put the helm hard over to the opposite side and steady the boat on an upwind course. Organize the crew to prepare for recovering the victim from the water. Stop the boat in time to keep him well away from the propeller. When the victim is secured to the boat with a line, you can stop the engine.
Whether you recover the victim under sail or under power doesn't matter. Your decision depends mainly on the situation and the resources available. To recover under sail, proceed as follows. Start the engine. Sail away on a reach to the apparent wind to get sea room to maneuver. Organize the crew to prepare for recovering the victim from the water. Tack round and sail to a close reach. Ease the sheets down and stop windward of the person in the water. Make the recovery over the leeward side.
Getting a person on board can be difficult. First, you must judge whether or not the victim can help himself. If he can help himself, and if it's safe to do so, use a bathing ladder or platform. If the person cannot help himself, it will be necessary to use some kind of a lifting tackle. Using a lifting sling and a tackle, attach the top of the tackle to the halyard and lift the person on board. A dinghy provides another option for recovery. Distress signals are used when a boat or a crew member are in grave and imminent danger and require immediate assistance. Several devices can be used to attract the attention of possible rescue units. A radio, an EPIRB, a radar transponder, pyrotechnics, flags, and signals. Which device is the best to use depends on the circumstances. If the visibility is good and the rescuers are close by, you could use hand flares, or if you're far away from land, maybe it's best to activate the EPIRB. The most common way of sending a distress signal is by radio. Modern radios conform to the GMDSS, Global Maritime Distress and Safety System. GMDSS is an international system that uses terrestrial and satellite technology and shipboard radio systems to allow rapid response in an emergency situation. Nowadays, distress messages can be initiated digitally by pressing the call button on the radio set. Radio sets which are not according to the GMDSS standard transmit a distress message by voice on channel 16 on a VHF transmitter or on 2182 kHz on an MF transmitter. The reception range of a VHF transmitter to a coastal station averages 35 nautical miles, and between an MF transmitter and a coastal station, 150 nautical miles. If you or your vessel are in grave and immediate danger, use the Mayday call. Mayday is the internationally recognized radiotelephony distress signal for a person or a vessel in grave and imminent danger. Start a Mayday call procedure as follows. Check that the main battery switch is on and switch the radio to a high power setting. Select channel 16 on VHF or 2182 kHz on an MF transmitter. When you use the MF transmitter, the distress message should be preceded by the two-tone alarm. Press the transmit button and say slowly and clearly, Mayday, 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 this is... Repeat the name of vessel 3 times. Mayday, this is... Name of vessel spoken once. My position is... State your latitude and longitude, or true bearing and distance from a known point. Now give information about the nature of distress, assistance required, number of persons on board, and other vital information. End your Mayday call with the word over. For example, Mayday, 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 this is Seahorse A, Seahorse A, Seahorse A. Mayday, this is Seahorse A. My position is 051 degrees 25 minutes north and 004 degrees 55 minutes west. I'm on fire and require immediate assistance. 6 adults and 2 children on board, 8 in total. 1 adult is injured and in critical condition. Over. Distress pyrotechnics come in various types: handheld, buoyant, or as parachute rockets. The red parachute rocket is designed for long-range signaling. During the day, the visibility of the flare is up to 8 nautical miles, and at night up to 21 nautical miles. The rocket carries its payload to a height of 984 feet and then ejects a red flare. The burning time is 40 seconds at 30,000 candelas. The red hand flare is used for short-range signaling situations. During a clear, dark night, the visibility of the flare is 5 nautical miles at sea level and 10 nautical miles from an aircraft. In daylight, the visibility is reduced. The burning time is 60 seconds at a minimum of 15,000 candelas, and the flare is red. The buoyant orange smoke signal is used in daylight only to pinpoint the distress position to a searching aircraft. It emits dense orange smoke for about 2 minutes. It's very important to read the instructions for use on each distress signal carefully. Store your signaling devices in a marked watertight container which should be readily available. All pyrotechnics are equipped with a date of expiration. Replace expired pyrotechnics as they become less reliable. To dispose of them, return them to the manufacturer or to the nearest Coast Guard station. Another very important aid to one-way radio communication is the EPIRB. EPIRB stands for Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. The EPIRB transmits the distress alert to a satellite. The satellite locates the EPIRB's position and relays the information to a land station, and in turn the land station relays the information to a rescue coordination center. EPIRBs contain an optional 121.5 MHz homing beacon. This homing device facilitates search and rescue helicopters with VHF direction finders. The EPIRB is also fitted with a hydrostatic release unit, which, if the vessel sinks, releases at a certain depth the EPIRB automatically from its stowage position. When the EPIRB emerges on the surface, it will automatically start the distress alert. SART stands for Search and Rescue Transponder. It's a device for locating ships or their survival craft in distress. The SART operates in the 9 GHz frequency band, generating a series of dots when being interrogated by a search craft with an X-band 3 cm radar. As the search craft approaches to within 1 nautical mile of the SART, the 12 dots change to wide arcs and eventually into complete circles as the search craft nears the SART. For the person in distress, the SART provides a visual and acoustic indication when being interrogated. The detection range from a rescue ship to the SART is a minimum of 5 nautical miles, and from a search and rescue helicopter up to 40 nautical miles. When in sight of another vessel and no flares or radio are available, you can use the signaling flags to call attention to a distress situation. If you require assistance, you can use the code flag Victor. Hoist the code flag November above the code flag Charlie, or a black square over a black ball if you're in imminent danger and immediate assistance is required. Code flag Whiskey is used if you require medical assistance. Sound signals made with a whistle or a gong can also be helpful in attracting attention. If no signaling device is available, use your arms. Stand facing in the direction of assistance and slowly raise and lower your arms. A combination of flags, audio and arm signals can be used to attract attention. Click on the pictures to enlarge. Life rafts are constructed in various sizes and shapes. They're usually made of rubber or PVC. The life raft should be stored either in a neoprene or canvas valise or in a glass fibre container. Life rafts should be approved, such as by SOLAS, Safety of Life at Sea, or ORC, Ocean Racing Conference. Here are some key features to look for in selecting a life raft. The life raft should be equipped with water ballast pockets. When the raft is deployed, these pockets will fill with water and reduce the risk of capsizing. Make sure that the floor is inflatable or at least double-layered. Double and inflatable floors provide additional thermal protection and reduce the risk of hypothermia. The buoyancy chambers should have 2 separate buoyancy compartments. If one buoyancy compartment is punctured or torn, the other compartment can support the full weight of the number of people the raft was designed for. Life rafts come in various types. The simplest type is the rescue platform, also called pods. Pods offer only a basic protection and should be restricted in use near shore or inshore. The canopy must be inflated manually and no survival gear is included. Coastal rafts are designed to be used only close to shore where heavy seas are not expected. The canopy is inflated manually and a small ballast system is provided to prevent the raft from capsizing in calm waters. The floor can be insulated and is single inflatable. The survival kit consists mainly of a bailer and signal flares. Offshore rafts come with a canopy that inflates automatically. The floor can be inflatable or double. More freeboard and better stability is provided in handling rough seas. The survival kit includes food and water rations in addition to other survival and safety items. Ocean-going rafts and their equipment are made for surviving as long as 30 days. These rafts are recommended for vessels making long-distance ocean passages. To keep your life raft in peak condition, have it annually overhauled by an approved life raft service station. In the intervening period, you can do some checking and maintenance yourself. Check whether the stowage container is broken or cracked. If so, patch it temporarily and contact the nearest life raft service station so the container can be repaired. Never hose down the raft with high water pressure, which might penetrate the sealing strips. Check bands and pins for rust. Clean and grease the pins if necessary. Check whether the raft sits tight in its stowage position so rough seas cannot wash it overboard. Don't forget your hydrostatic release unit. Together with your life raft, give it an annual inspection. Newer types do not need servicing. They have a lifespan of 2 years and are then simply replaced with new ones. Let's have a look at a SOLAS A equipment pack which you can find inside an ocean-going raft. The pack includes thermal protective aids, paddles, a manual inflation pump, a repair kit, repair clamps, pressure relief valve plug, a waterproof flashlight or torch with spare bulb and batteries, sponges, a bailer, and leak stoppers. The equipment pack also contains parachute rockets, hand flares, buoyant smoke signals, seasickness bags, water storage bags, a signalling mirror, a whistle, anti-seasickness pills, a spare sea anchor, and a radar reflector. In the equipment pack there are also graduated drinking cups, drinking water, food rations, can openers, a fishing kit, a heaving line, a first aid kit, a floating knife, and survival instructions. Your raft should be easily and permanently accessible. Never tie your life raft with a rope or store it inside a boat. In case the boat sinks, the life raft would be trapped and eventually lost. To avoid losing your raft, place it in a cradle. Secure the raft with a slip hook to the hydrostatic release unit and secure the painter with a weak link to a strong point. If the vessel sinks, within 4 meters, 13 feet, the water pressure will activate the release unit and the life raft will float free. The painter will be stretched, activating the CO2 bottle, and the life raft will start to inflate. The weak link breaks and sets the raft free. The raft is then ready for boarding. If you have time to deploy the raft before your boat sinks, release the raft manually. First, release the slip hook and heave the raft over the side to leeward. Throw it overboard and haul off on the painter until the raft inflates. In the event that the raft inflates upside down, it can be righted by use of the righting straps. Bring the raft alongside, tie it up with the painter and board the raft as quickly as possible. Remove your shoes and any sharp objects you might be carrying to avoid damaging the raft. After boarding, keep these 4 keywords in mind: cut, stream, close, maintain. These are the first actions to be taken when a life raft has been boarded. Cut the painter line to free the raft from the sinking boat. Stream the sea anchor to slow down the rate of drift from your emergency position and to balance the raft. Close the entrances to keep warm and dry so the risk of hypothermia will be reduced. Now start to maintain the raft by checking for leaks, bailing out water, and drying the inside with sponges. Post a watchkeeper. The watchkeeper should look for rescue units, persons in the water, other survival craft, and changes in weather. Ventilate the raft at regular intervals to replace the exhaled air. CO2 can cause the survivors to suffocate. Helicopters are frequently used for search and rescue operations. It's important that you strictly follow the instruction of the helicopter crew, as they know when and how a rescue is safely and efficiently performed. To facilitate the rescue operation, some vital preparations can be carried out before the arrival of the helicopter. If you're still in the boat, try to keep a heading of 35 to 45 degrees off the wind. In case no motor power is available, you can slowly drift down by streaming the sea anchor from the bow or by lowering the anchor and chain. In both cases, have your sails lowered so that the helicopter will not be entangled in your gear. Now check your crew. They should be dressed warmly and, if possible, have their wetsuits on. Some form of head protection, such as a kayaker's helmet, would be useful. Life jackets should be worn at all times. As soon as you hear the helicopter arriving, you can pinpoint your position with distress flares or a signalling mirror. Have your VHF ready on channel 16 so the helicopter crew can contact you and give further instruction. The rescue might take place either from the boat, from a dinghy or life raft, or from the water. If the rescue takes place from a dinghy or life raft, connect it with a 30-meter 100-foot rope to the boat and let it drift astern. Put only one person into the raft or dinghy at a time. The rescue crew will lower a lifting strop, or if the situation allows, a winchman will be lowered to assist the survivors. If a dinghy or a life raft is not available, or the sea condition is very rough, the rescue will be carried out in the water. Each crew member, in turn, is tied to a long rope, enters the water, and drifts astern of the boat. The highline technique is used when it's too dangerous to lower the helicopter winchman directly on board. In this case, the helicopter crew lowers a weighted line down to a crew member. The sails should be lowered and any loose gear should be made fast. Warning: during lowering, the line will build up static electricity and should be earthed first before it can be touched. Then coil the line on deck. Never secure the line to the boat, because the helicopter will lose its own momentum. As soon as the line is on deck, the winchman will be lowered to a safe height, and the crew members should pull the high line in to guide the winchman on board. Never touch the winchman before he is physically on deck due to build-up of static electricity. Then the winchman will assist the crew members to be airlifted either by strop or basket.